Okay, and I'm just giving everything a turn before we completely finish off. Just give everything a turn like that, make sure everything works well. Put that last screw in. Okay, and get that bearing. You can see that's actually a sealed bearing, so we can put a drop of oil on that, but other than that there's no need to grease it up or anything like that. It just sits in there like that. Okay, again, get the recommended oil you want to get. Just going to put just a drop of oil, don't overdo it, over the top, just so it goes pretty much all the way around that bearing. I'll put that slide back on. It will be sort of notched, so we'll go in like that. Very nice. Everything turns beautifully, just hang on to it, give it a bit of a turn, no problems. Okay, so we already gave this a clean out. Now we're going to put it back in. Now if you look underneath very carefully, I'll just pop this down for a sec. You can see, can you see? Just here, there's a little catch there. You just want to make sure that runs freely, back and forth, back and forth. That's your anti-slip there, and that's nice and smooth. There's no problems there at all. I'll leave that as it is. So we're just going to pop that on, keeping that little catch towards this one. That is controlled via your reversing lever. Okay, so we're just going to put that back in like that. Locate it. Sometimes you'll have to turn this a little bit to make it locate properly. And that is it. Now we're just going to put the pop of screws back in. Okay, so it's running nice and smooth there. I haven't got the handle tightened up or anything, but it's nice and smooth. So, now, so that's all done. It's all running nice and smooth. It's all nicely oiled and greased up inside and out. Next we're just going to grab this bail arm. Like I said, if that's running fine, you can leave it. You can put a little bit of oil in there. I'll just take this side cover off just to show you exactly what's going on in there too. Now you've got to be careful when you're taking this side cover off. It does have little springs in there. It's got all these little bits and pieces, so you just want to be a little careful when you're taking it off. Okay, as you can see in there, got this the little arm that runs up inside that. You can take this off. I'm not going to at the moment because it's a pain in the ass. But you can see there's a spring in there which actually spring loads this. You can see that spring retracting there. So if you have a problem with it, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be with a unit in there, in which case the spring might be broken, or you might have corrosion or sand inside there, or this pin might be displaced as well. So that pin's very important. Okay, so you just check it out, pull it all the way back. You can see where there's another pin in there pushing on that spring. Make sure it's all nice and clean. I'll just close this back up in there. Like I said, it's all running smooth. Same deal now. We'll just pop this open and I'll show you what's going on in there as well. Whenever you are going to take that apart though, you will find there's quite a few pieces in there, even though it's something quite simple. It's just a roller, there's nothing much to it, but on certain reels you'll find there's a million little pieces sitting in there. So let's get rid of that screw. Just carefully pull it apart, just like that. You can see we've got a little couple of little washers in there. No moving parts. It's nice and clean. Got a washer on this side. Again, that's nice and clean. We got a little bearing and everything there. So just, again, check it all out. Give it a light coating of oil. Close that back up again. This one's running quite smooth. But you'll know if it's not running smooth, you pretty much got to take it out. If it's a bearing, change the bearing over. If it's just grit and stuff like that, a lot of times you can just clean it out. Give it a clean and you're good. Good to go. That's it, just do that up. Give that a bit of a nip up there and just test it. Yeah, running beautifully. Nice and smooth. Okay, now, so we're just going to grab now the bail arm assembly, which is running nice. Slide it over the top, push it down, okay, and you can see now the threads from the drive are hanging out the top. I'm going to put that screw back on, give it a nip up. Wrong one. Okay, nip that up. And we're going to put this screw back in now, and that screw is to stop that actually unwinding. So always remember to put that screw in because it's pretty important. It's to stop the bail arm assembly actually loosening off, so you can see the screw actually pushes up against the nut there, stops it undoing. It's pretty important. Okay, you can see it's just running nice and smooth. No problems. Drive's going up and down for the spool. Okay. So, actually, what we'll do now, I'll just go through the drag washers with you. Different reels, different amount of washers. Just very carefully take out the little retainer, little retaining spring. Be careful with that, because if it goes flicking across the world, you're never getting it back. Okay, what I like to do is just get a screwdriver, put it through the gut, give it a wiggle, and take it out. So you can see all the washers now have come out on that screwdriver. So now I can take them off one by one, and they're all in order. So that's my top. That's the next one. That's the next one. That's the next one. That's the next one. And I do have one more hidden in the bottom. Okay. Now if these are really damp, like I'm touching them on that rag there and I can't see any liquid or anything on them, but if they are really damp, what I tend to do, I'll just show you quickly. Put it inside a piece of material, fold it over, give it a tap with a hammer, and what that does, you can actually see, as little as there was in there, it's actually driven out a bit of the liquid. You can see that circle there, so that'll drive out the liquid, any liquid that you do have, oils and stuff like that in those drag washers. So I'll do all of them. Use a rubber mallet's probably the best thing, or just use a hammer, don't whack them too hard. Just a little tap there. And the last one. Okay, just like that. So they're all free of liquids and oils and stuff. I'll give these, all these little washers, just a wipe off. Okay, so I'm going to work backwards now. Grab the first washer, just a tiny little bit of grease. We're just going to put a tiny little bit of grease on that washer, just a very light coating of grease. Don't overdo it, you don't want to slop the stuff on. I'm going to pop that in. Make sure it's sitting nicely. Grab the first metal washer. Pop that in. A little bit of grease. Another drag washer there. So put some grease on it. It's a light coating. Pop that in. Little washer with the arms on it, go in next. No problem. That last drag washer there, again a little bit of grease on there. Pop that in. And last but not least, the last washer on top. Just like that. Okay. Get that retaining pin. I'm just going to pop that in place. A little bit of stuffing around here and there, but to get it in, but be patient, she'll go in. Okay, we're all clicked in all the way around. Beautiful. She's in. Okay, a bit of a wipe on top. Always give the inside a wipe, inside of the spool. Make sure there's no sand and grit and all that. If there is, give it a wash out with a hose, wipe it out with a rag to get the old grease off, whatever. Alright, so now pop the star back on, pop those locating and holding washers back in there. It's 1, 2, and 3. And push those all the way down so they're nice and tight down there. You can put a little bit of grease on that if you like. I've got some on my fingers anyway. Okay, spool back on, which I guess you've done a million times back at home. Okay, pop the handle back in. Okay, so I've popped that back in. Now it's just a test. Give it a good spin. And again. So that's all nice. Now check your drag. It's all working fine. And that's it. Nice and simple. You can finish it off with that back plate at the end. That's it. Nice easy way to service a reel.